All right, we're about to review Green Room by Jeremy Saulnier. So Green Room was directed by Jeremy Saulnier. It's about a punk band that went to a bar and they were performing in their concert. They seemed like some things weren't quite right. They ended up going back into the green room to see something that they weren't supposed to, and things went south really fast. So to start with the tone or the feel of this movie, obviously it was very tense. It was a very tense movie. There was a lot of bursts of violence and fighting their way out. I felt a lot of heavy tension in this movie.
I would agree. I didn't feel as much tension. To me, it was just more of a suspenseful movie. I think that it was supposed to be tense, but I didn't feel it. It was more suspenseful and just kind of a dark movie, in my opinion.
And this is probably the first point where I think we disagree. I think a lot of the tension was in the subtleness, and it wasn't embellished by music necessarily, but I believe the tension was huge. All right, I thought the acting in this movie was pretty good. There was nothing spectacular. I think Patrick Neal is always a good actor. He played a good villain in this movie, and I thought he did a good job. And I think that the other leads did a relatively good job. Nothing spectacular, nothing horrible.
I 100% agree. I think everything was good. There was nothing that I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, but nothing that I thought was bad at all.
As far as the direction of the script, I think they took the story in a good direction. To me, it was very realistic. It wasn't necessarily something that would, the script alone would thrill the people, but I think it was very realistic. The bursts of violence and the plotting that they had to do, and the whole story, I thought it was a good story, and I thought it was a good direction that they took.
I would agree with that, but I didn't like the direction of the script so much because I thought there was a really long first half that was the build up to the climax, and then the climax was extremely short and not really all that lived up to the whole build up. And then I thought the movie ended very quickly. I didn't think there was a full ending, and so I thought a lot of the aspects in the middle were very good at the direction of the script, but then I think there was also some holes in following what was happening.
As far as the cinematography went, it was primarily in a bar the whole time. I thought the scenery was really good in that, with what you can do inside of a bar. It was decorated well. There was at no point did I feel that it was poorly done. The bar was convincing, and it made you feel that claustrophobia in there. There was no multiple rooms. You were stuck in that place just with them. And then ultimately when it came out into the woods, there was some nice Oregon landscape. So I thought it was nothing spectacular again, but it fit the movie well.
I agree. I thought it was fitting for the movie. It's kind of hard to think that the cinematography is amazing when it's all shot in one building, but it was definitely good. There was never a point when I thought that it wasn't well made or well done for the movie, what it was trying to portray.
And as far as the music went, I don't think there was too much music. It was mostly from the movie what the music was produced. And we've sort of got to be used to having music embellish certain points like I talked about earlier. The music embellishes a scene of violence. But at this point, there wasn't as much music in that case, but to me, it made me feel like the tension was even more there. It played on that realism a lot more than sort of the Hollywoodized version of things, and so I really enjoyed that kind of for a change.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there was a whole lot of music, but I think the music was kind of at the right times where there was just a little bit of it, but there was enough of it to make you realize that there's music because they are in a bar, and so it helped a little bit, but it didn't really help a whole lot with the suspensefulness or the tenseness of the movie. It was just kind of there.
The pacing of the script was it moved along at a good pace for me. I thought that at times it could have felt a little bit back and forth, but I think if you watch the story, to me it made the pacing feel like it was right on. They had a lot to deal with. They're stuck in a bar, so obviously they're not just going to break out and get onto this crazy scene. Mm-hmm. They're trapped in a bar, so it's pretty difficult to get out of there, and to me it felt about right.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I wasn't a huge fan of the direction of the script, which also kind of has to do with the pacing because there was a very long build-up for about half the movie, and then the climax was really short, and it didn't really live up to the build-up. So then to me, the pacing was kind of slow at the beginning, but then once you got to the climax, it was good even though the climax was kind of short.
As far as the dialogue or the script of this movie, I thought that it was okay. It might have been the weakest point of the movie, I think. It seemed like at some points they could have sped it up a little bit. It seemed like there were some scenes where they were adding dialogue that didn't necessarily progress the character or move the story. So it could have been sped up a little bit by that, but it was okay. It wasn't distracting.
I thought the dialogue was fine. To me, it was nothing great, but nothing bad. And my favorite part of the dialogue was that there were some little funny exchanges that kind of progressed through the movie. And so that kind of made me enjoy the dialogue a little bit more because I was kind of waiting for those and enjoying those. But other than that, it was just okay.
And that's it. So for our final grades, I give Green Room a B+.
And I would give Green Room a C.
She gives it a C. So I think where we disagree mostly is in the movement of the story. She thought it took about till halfway until all the action sort of started. I thought that the tension started a lot earlier than that when they were trapped in that room and they were sort of negotiating. I felt a lot of the tension there. But I think we'd both say it's a pretty good movie, and I think that's all we have for it.
Yeah, so that is our movie review of Green Room. Thank you for watching.